JKB back with another episode. Today on the show, I'm reviewing Gear.Club 2 Unlimited. Thank you so much to the devs for sending over the review copy. As you may know or you may not know, I'm a huge fan of racing games, and I've been waiting for a realistic racer on the Nintendo Switch since the system was launched. Now, I admit I didn't play Gear.Club 1, however, Gear.Club 2 Unlimited just came out, and it has all the usual racing modes that you would expect with a racing game in the genre in this generation, but with an interesting garage mechanic where you're able to build up your garage space and design the layout of the garage itself any way you see fit. The idea of being able to customize your garage is interesting because it adds another layer to the whole experience, and it's not just about being the driver of the cars in the game, but also the designer of the shop. There's something I'm starting to realize, and that's called the switch factor, or at least that's what I'm calling it, in which I kind of have to take into consideration what the developer is trying to deal with when it comes to the Switch's capabilities and what their vision is of the game. This has mostly to do with the limits of the Switch itself. Of course, games aren't going to be full-fledged AAA experiences like they will be on, say, the Xbox One X. And in saying that, the game does have an issue with how it runs on the system, and yeah, it can bring down the experience at times overall, and I'd hope that it wouldn't do that. That's not saying the game doesn't work. It's just lacking the polish and detail you would expect from most racing games in the genre. All the cars handle well with different track conditions affecting each of the cars' handling. The cars do slide on ice and slide on dirt roads while gripping to asphalt as you would expect. It's really basic mechanics at play here that kind of get the job done. There's no car damage, which is really disappointing, and makes the game really feel dated. Graphically, the game is going to impress you. The tracks do feel a little lifeless with nothing really going on outside of the track. The cars have the basic reflections that reflect the road blocks on each side of the car, and the sky does reflect on the top of the roof, but it's a very flat image due to the lack of any serious lighting effects in-game. The structure of the game is also questionable due to its incredibly poor pacing in the introduction period. You'll be stuck driving this Mini Cooper around, and unless you're a huge fan of the Italian Job remake, you're going to be bored with this car within a few races, but giving no chance to switch to a new car until you've completed the introduction is kind of a big mistake in my eyes. As you would expect, the story in this game is not exactly very important. It's kind of weak and it's just there, and it's no different than most of the stories in other racing games. The story is kind of told through these character images on screen, and it's lifeless. You just get text on screen and you kind of have to imagine and pretend that you're in this world. But I mean, it just doesn't work, and it really has the signature of a mobile game all over it. The custom garage is tied into the cash you make out on the road. You'll do a bunch of races and you'll come back to the shop and update it. You'll be able to design the layout, and I'll admit I'd almost rather play a game where you have to run a car garage over the actual racing in this game at times. It was actually a lot of fun to design my garage. Overall, the game does feel very average at best, and there's not much of the experience to get excited about. It's a very paint-by-numbers racer with a full price tag, which can be considered ridiculous. It's not to say that the game doesn't deliver what it's supposed to. I mean, it really is an average racer at best, so many of these small issues that keep it back from being anything but average could have probably been fixed if the game was just developed for another 6 to 12 months. There seems to be a couple of music tracks that play during the menus, but when you load into the race, the music is instantly cut off, and I couldn't figure out if there was a soundtrack and if you could turn it on while you were racing, so I hope you enjoy the sound of car engines, because that's all you're going to be hearing while you're racing, and I did confirm with the developer that there's no music during the races, which is a little absurd. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, even PlayStation 2 games had racing music during the race. I mean, I don't know what's happening here. Lastly, I do feel very disappointed with the game. However, I'm a major fan of the genre at heart, and it's really interesting to be able to take a racing game on the go like this, a more serious toned racing game I should say. It's very bare bones, and there's issues with the mechanics during races, like when you hit the wall with cars that are super expensive in the game, you instantly basically stop in your tracks sometimes, and that is very frustrating. The very last thing I want to mention is the incredible, like, this is ridiculous, guys, the incredible loading times. There's so much loading in the game that you just will want to have a second switch next to you so you can play different games while this game loads up. It's unbelievable how a game like this needs to load every second it goes to one of the screens. I almost couldn't handle it. It takes you right out of the experience. You'll be focusing yourself on waiting for the game to load, that it's not even a fun experience once it gets into there for genre fans. I mean, I'm trying to be nice with this game because I know they worked hard on it. All of this is just an average experience. I'm going to give Gear.Club Unlimited 2 a 5.5 out of 10. I can't recommend it at this price point, but when the game comes down to around $30 US, if you're a hardcore fan, maybe go pick it up then. But save your money right now. I can't believe that this is a $79 game here in Canada. And yes, the price of games in Canada is absolutely ridiculous, but come on, guys. You guys rushed this game out. There's no denying it. I want to be a fan of your series, so please, next version, include some things that the hardcore fans want. Do something special here. Don't just give us a bare bones racer with incredible loading times, no music during the races, no background animation happening, and last but not least, please, for the love of God, introduce just some damage to the cars, even if it's just on the textures. That's fine, but I mean, come on, what is this, 2001? I mean, 1996? What is this? Come on, if you like my review, guys, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next episode of JKB.